Okay, hey everyone. So let's go over the agenda in the doc. I'm sharing it. So I think the one update we have is that the rebase of 5.6 did occur on Monday. So we have all the PRs that were merged already inside, and I guess that's it. I mean, we're pending more work, and I did ask you, Nimrod, if there's any chance we will be able to, you know, do anything, but we'll see. I mean, if we need more fixes or anything to make it work, but we might, we might just create some custom builds if we need for specific cases on top of 5.6, right? So we can use that as a base, maybe things like that.
Yeah, and in any case, let's take it by case by case basis. But
Yeah, of course.
You can always create builds, for next version builds, RCs, whatever. That's always a possibility, of course.
Mm-hmm. And also, we didn't. So I think for the caching, we didn't, at least as far as I understand, we didn't have a chance to run a full functional test to make sure that it's functioning well, or doing what we expect. So I think we might have a few bumps next.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the project. Team update. Do you want to say a word?
Sure. Basically, we're continuing the same efforts. The big ones right now are Postgres and encryption that we are adding. On the Postgres side, since you are aware of the stores and how things look inside, I will say that most of the effort right now is going towards the empty store, which is the second biggest store we have. System store is already working with Postgres. Once we have the empty store in, we have a bunch of loose ends, the other smaller stores, upgrade. We need to think about some flows we need to fix from the operator back into the core. Many loose ends, but I think MD and system stores were the big ones. What we are going to do and change a bit, we are going to change the way we work with the DBs into something more generic, so we can, in a more easy way, plug in other DBs or interfaces. Guy, if you want to talk about the specifics, that's fine. If not, it's also fine.
Do you hear me now? Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I said I was starting to say that I will keep this update for when I know more, but in essence, we are looking for metadata opportunities, right? So how do we keep the metadata? And Postgres versus Mongo is just a way to abstract. It's like a practice for us to how to abstract it correctly, and just define the interface like we did for namespaces and for block stores, and see how much we can build on top of these interfaces.
Okay. Yeah, so other than that, mostly bug fixing and bug hunting right now. That's it.
Okay. So I want, so Matthieu, if you want to give any update, or you want to go over the list of the open things and get to the stats for with Paul at the end. Is that okay? You want to update on anything? You're welcome. Okay. I don't know. I can't hear you. Maybe you're talking, maybe not. So let me know.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I don't think there is anything specific to report on our side as far as team updates go. Our sprints ended on actually yesterday, and so now we're moving on to the metric stuff. I know Paul has started working on that. So, but yeah, nothing else. I think we can move on to reviewing PRs.
Okay. Okay, great. So let's start. Sanjeev, I think yours should be ready, I guess, because I think we covered all the comments there, and I saw your response.
Yeah.
Let me share this instead here. Right. So the only pending thing was my question about the remote. If that was meant, and I saw the explanation. So that's good. So did you update anything to reflect that? Is that?
I haven't, but if you want, I can do it in this pull request. I can just fix the name variable so it's not as confusing.
Yeah, right. I mean, anything that would make I don't know. Well, I guess would make it work for you for what you're saying here.
Yeah, I'll fix the names. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So that's pretty much ready, I think.
About this S3 compatible, I think when I tried the same test in using the NooBaa management console, I was using AWS and everything was working. So I'll try to duplicate the situation and see what happens.
Again, you mean running, but in here we're running compatible on top of our endpoint as well, right? So the point about S3 compatible and AWS, the difference is internally how we set up the endpoint, the SDK, right? So with compatible, we're setting it to, we're defaulting to accept self-signed, and with AWS we don't, right? So I don't know. It's hard to say what happened first time you checked it, but it's good that this was the case, because I accidentally noticed that you changed the endpoint, but you didn't change the type. So that was my, Okay, so you just maybe you want to fix that. We can merge and go on. I think that's an easy fix and it's a good test. So perfect. Let's go on. So whenever you're ready, let me know and I can merge. So great. Okay. Matthieu, I had a bunch of comments yesterday. I know you saw some of them and I replied again. Do you how do you want to go over that? Do you want me to go over the code? Do you want to go over the comments? Do you have questions?
I just pushed a commit and addressing all of your comments, and I tested.
Okay.
So I think I think it's good. But
okay. Let's just go over this now and see if we have anything left. Okay, so this was the ID and display name.
So yeah, I don't know if you had any specific question regarding that, but
so I'll tell you what's the confusion that I had. That when we returned this before, you see the content was already at the default S3 user directly. You see?
Well, yeah.
And now we're saying that the content is an object that looks like this. Right? This is what we return from inside. I'm just wondering what's the correct XML that we are trying to build, and if this is building the same one.
It is building the same one because I verified this through text, and so if you look at the Lodash without ACL.grantee, I think we assigned ACL to the default S3 user in the case that this would actually be what is returned. Because we know we forge, if you look at S3 utils, we forge a default ACL that includes the default S3 user. And so
this one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So if you remove type, right? So you get an object of an idea, and I'm just not sure how would that behave exactly the same, because I think what would be the result would be this way. So I think what the XML would be is, so that would be the start, right? So that's first, then this, and then grantee. And grantee would actually be which one would that be? So exercise type will be just the, I think, grant and grantee, and the attribute will have, so exercise type. Just I'm trying to explain what will be what I think might be a case here, right?
Yeah.
And then content is that grantee, right? And then content is here. And what I think happens when you make this thing is that you get, in your case, an ID, and I'm trying to understand if that's what's needed or just the what does that look like? I mean, this one. So you see, the point is that this object already has an ID and display type, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. Well, then it needs to be. Let's see here. Well, then in the default object ACL, grantee needs to be.
Well, I guess it just needs to have the ID right here. And
well, no, because we want the display name as well.
So both, right? So just include both here. So just expand it for the simplest way. We shouldn't really be so. So one way of doing it, I don't know if you know that, is this.
No.
Okay. So that would take all the keys from this object and spread them. It's called a spread operator. It's an object spread operator. There's also an array spread operator, but you're basically spreading the same keys and values from this object into the new object that we're just inlining here. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that would do it, I say. Okay. So now I understand. But then we just need to take a look again. So what are we doing here? So you're calling without and passing on a function. I see that it works, but the one thing I was very confused about, oops, I think I replaced it, was that it didn't even seem like there is a case like that with, I mean, it obviously works for you, so it works, but it didn't seem like there's this documented having a function here. So maybe it's compatibility.
What do you mean documented having a function? Oh, yeah. Well, so what I did is I think it's not that it's documented.
You can use so first of all, you can use the omit.
Oh, I had no idea.
If you just want to remove keys, right? Because with object, and you have, I want to remove this key and this key, so A and C will be removed from the object. You'll get B2 only.
Okay. Right? Yeah, well, I can try to do that. I think the reasoning here is I took the without. I mean, first off, I don't really know what the difference between without and omit is then, but I think, that's the values. Okay.
Yes. So the difference is what do you operate in? This operates on objects, and without operates on arrays.
Oh, okay. Well, so basically what I did is I took the without, and since it wasn't working exactly for my needs, I had not heard about omit, so I customized it and I added this function, which is documented in other Lodash methods.
Right. I guess it works, but I mean, it seems like it's not what we always do. So
yeah,
and grantee is not an array, and etc. So let's just make it omit. That will be fine, right? So you just want to omit the type key, basically, right?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so that's good. So now we understand this is omit. Then you just need to say type. Okay, that's good. Okay, so the main thing we did with this PR from the original was to push down all the work, right? So we have now the layers calling each other. So we have the S3 operations, get and put, calling object SDK get and put. And for get, we are using the reply, right? We're setting the reply and the structure. That's good. And for put, let's cross that. And for put, we are not using the reply, right? That was the change we discussed. Okay, perfect. And okay, and the utils is the right. So the defaults, that's good because now we can refer to it if we need from 2 locations. Not sure if we need it from 2 places, but let's see. I think we do, right? So cache needs it because we want to achieve, right? So we want to use the same method as we used today for NooBaa buckets, which in this case, right, in the non-reject or pass-through cases. So we check for object existence and then we return the default ACL. So that's good. And so one thing I didn't understand was what happens if in the else we ignore. What was the meaning of it? I mean, when ACL handling is an empty or anything else, right? So not like an empty string, right? Which is this option for get. What do we do for put when it's empty? Just ignore it, right?
Yeah, we just ignore it.
Perfect, but we still need to do this, right? So the point about both cases for get and put, that both of them expect an error when the object does not exist. So if we don't even attempt to access the object, we will never, communicate that correctly. The error. So this case, the else over this part should also just call this await the read object in the
wait, you want to put it into the put object tackle?
So yeah, put object tackle when ACL handling is obviously empty. Then we also need to load the object.
Okay.
Okay. So just await this, and not because we need the answer, because we need the errors, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that. But that's now looking pretty simple to understand, like the caching policies that we implemented. So that's good. And right, and this is basically the same, just with the NooBaa bucket read object MD, right? And that's pretty good. We could, by the way, this could have worked the same way as here, I think, right? Just sending, oops, not the merge one, the cache one. This could have been just, sending the params like this as well, or no, like this. I mean, the same way. I'm not sure if there's really a difference, but maybe it is. I mean, never mind. So it's good. It's good to select it here because this has the schema definitions that we enforce. So that's good. And then we return this, and here we just await, and that's it. Perfect. That's great. And S3 would actually be implemented.
Yeah.
Returning here. Great. Okay, looking very good. Do we need? So I don't think we have Genia on the call, but Nimrod, do you think we need? Genia, you're here. Do we need anything?
Yeah, I'm here.
I mean, I meant to ask you and actually Romy. If we need anything on namespace blob to do with this, not necessarily in this PR, but we can just follow up and either reject, just do something. But
we need to take a look at the namespace blob. I mean the compatibility and what it should do, because I can investigate and take a look right now and give you an answer in a couple of minutes.
So first of all, let's open an issue, right? Let's just let's put an issue for that, and we can put any thoughts on how to resolve it over there. Okay?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Okay, so I'll do that. I'll open an issue for that, and I think that's that. Let me. Do you want to resolve? So we'll go over the technicality of resolving the comments later. Let me just finish, submit the review, and okay. Okay, so I think we are, unless you have any other questions, we can go forward to the next topic.
So regarding the ACLs, we do definitely need to apply some kind of logic in the namespace blob. That's for sure, right? Because we don't have anything out there. So we there is ACLs on Azure, but I'm not sure if we want to implement we should probably do the same cases like we did in the S3 and stuff.
Yeah, so that's correct. I mean, what would happen now would be that any S3 client that we run against a namespace blob would fail pretty quickly because getACL is pretty much basic, and we need that to at least work, right? We don't want to fail. That's the only case. So I think maybe, Matthieu, the only other comment I would add to your PR would be that we just need the same default implementation maybe for the namespace blob.
Okay.
I mean, just like we did for the default case of namespace cache, right? Would be this just read object MD and this, like these two lines for the namespace blob case. So let me add that.
So there are ACL implementations in Azure, but they are not strictly one-to-one. You will need to investigate and take a look what suits your transfer from S3 to blob, because it's not one-to-one.
So I think for this PR, I think I only want to cover just keep the previous behavior that we had.
Well, then you just you can just whenever you do put object ACLs on something on blob, you can just return without doing anything, and when you will read, you won't populate the ACL.
So do you see what I'm sharing? I mean, we need to always do this in both cases because of the errors, and then we need to only in the get API case to return the object. Oh, so Matthieu, does that make sense? That just add this?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so that will help to avoid failing namespace blob. And I mean, we might put it in some base class at some point, but I think for now we just need to put it for the known ones before we refactor and reorganize that. Just have that. Okay. Any more comments?
But you are planning to do a refactor regarding the, for example, namespace merge, right? That will somehow in the future will aggregate those ACLs from blob and from S3 with a single API, I'm guessing, or a single response.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Really depends on the use cases for merge. I think the merge case is mostly we targeted it for many things, but the typical one would be for lazy migration, and we need to check what's the relevance of doing anything more fancy with ACLs for other use cases, I suppose. I don't know. I don't have a use case for ACLs yet in this specific namespace. So once we have, we can implement.
Okay, I was just all right. I was just
Did you see the implementation in namespace merge?
I haven't looked at the namespace merge regarding
Let me show you. Just worth understanding what we are changing here. So namespace merge in this case would pick for get ACIO would pick the read the first read namespace, and then here put to the put. But this can create a very mixed view of the ACL, right? So I'm really not sure if this is a good thing, but I also don't have much else to say.
I've assumed that this is what you did, and this is why I've told you that we will need to do some placeholder in namespace blob in order not to fail on put object ACL, because we don't have that there. So this is why I assumed that this is what you did.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we'll do that.
Guy, I have a question regarding the change that you just showed. Here. The put ACL, does it choose like the first resource you can, like the first resource namespace you can put the ACL on?
So no, the thing that selects the namespace is nsput here.
Yeah.
And nsput versus nsguest will choose the writable versus the
Yeah. So the problem you just asked Jenny about is in the case that the right target is Azure.
In both cases with Azure.
Yes, the right part is the Azure, but in the get you will have the same problem basically. But yeah, mainly we were discussing the put. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. 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 So I'll create an issue for. Oh, so do we want? So Nimo, do you want to have an issue for compatibility in namespace blob, for example? Is that something you want to have an issue?
Sure. Yeah.
For ACL.
Have the tags if we didn't remove them.
You mean
there was
for
a technical depth, I guess, right? Or
no, we have compatibility. You mean the labels?
Yeah, the labels. We have compatibility with Azure and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Okay. So I'll open the issue and let's go over the next topic. Okay. So let's start. Paul, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So do you want to give us some to synchronize us? Let us know where you are.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. You see my screen?
Yes, but not very. I mean, it's pretty small fonts, so if you can increase a little bit, would be good.
Okay. How about now?
It's looking better.
Okay.
It's good.
All right. So I would like to talk about the support on one type of styles, mainly counters. So this group of styles serves two purposes. One is figure out hit rate. The other goal is try to figure out, try to give information on the amount of upload bytes or read bytes. Okay. So I started to make some changes. Just would like to see whether it makes sense to you in high level. So here I'm showing the div. Okay. So first of all, I changed the common API. I put all the new styles under the IO styles. So there will be a cache read bytes, write bytes, read account, read miss account, the range read. I separate out the range read from the normal read case. So that's my you know, proposed changes to the API. One question, you know, I'm not sure whether we should create a separate like subgroup just for cache. So for now I put it under IO stats.
Can I add something regarding that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so basically what I'm adding is it may be not, I mean, probably you took it from other codes, but this is not in particular only for those stats. Maybe other stats have the same issue. But when we aggregate the number of bytes, we are capped to a certain number if we use integer and if we are not using the big int. For example, if you take a look at our aggregation of storage on the buckets, we are using big integers and we are not capped to a couple of petabytes. So this actual export is capped to a couple of petabytes, if I'm not mistaken, of bytes.
8 petabytes.
8 petabytes, yeah, or something like that. Yeah. So I know that you probably copied it from other stats, but we will need to maybe in the future handle the other stats as well, that they won't be capped. So I'm not sure if we should start from this version, from this PR, or maybe leave a gap and do that in the future on our whole stats.
I don't know. You know, whatever makes sense to you guys, since I don't have a picture on the because I did copy it based on, you know, from the existing.
Yeah. So like I've said, for example, the MD aggregation that calculates the number of storage in our buckets is already with big integers. So you can take it as example and maybe code your change with that. If not, then we will leave a gap and just change it. And I think that maybe Nimrod or Guy are the persons who will decide on that. This is just an input from my side because I don't want to continue with this logic by using integers. This is because we will have to change more places later in the future.
Okay.
So I have a different comment. Oh, sorry. Continue.
You go ahead.
Why are we trying to push all of these stats inside the generic IO stat? Wouldn't it be better to create a different structure to hold this information? Because our IO stats are spread all over the project. And here we are speaking about a very specific case where we want to consume this kind of stats.
Yeah, that is one of the questions I have. I don't know whether it makes sense to create a separate group just for cache, right? Caching.
Actually, you don't even need a different structure because this structure mimics the original structure. If I read it correctly, just for cache. Maybe we just need 2 instances of the same structure in the places where we want to collect this specific.
Yeah, but this one has the missing part, like a missing count, right? Read miss, but it doesn't have those. You know, the existing one doesn't have those. So it's kind of you know, some of like read bytes, write bytes. They do have IO read count, but just no missing account.
So I will take my last comment. Why we should, when I will go back to my first comment, I think we should separate it into a cache IO stats or something like that. Again, I'm just searching the entire project for the usage of IO stats, and it's widespread, so it's not specific to.
Okay.
Paul, can you open the common API file itself? I mean, just to look at the context of these stats. Yeah. Right, and can you highlight where IO stats is included in whether it's inside here at all, or I'm not sure.
What do you mean?
Maybe I mean, are we referencing this in anywhere in this in other APIs?
Okay.
Yeah.
You can just take a look in the whole project IO stats and reference.
Yeah.
That's exactly. That's one place.
Okay, so basically what we are extending here is
This is not the only. This is not the only place, of course. Yes.
Okay, but this is the one that is relevant to the update that caching will send. Update endpoint stats.
Yeah, that's it's for the endpoint, right? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And the context of the stats inside this request, I see that there's namespace stats versus bucket counters, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is namespace stats, and then the namespace resource ID per namespace resource. Okay. So you're adding now per namespace resource and is it again per bucket here? No, it's not per bucket. It's just per namespace.
Yeah,
resource.
per namespace. Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
So what we're saying here is that this will give us the hub. I mean, the hub resource will be created once in the system, and we will keep reporting these stats aggregated for the hub, right? It's not a per bucket statistic.
Yeah.
Or is it inside IOStats that we have?
Yeah, inside IOStats, it kind of have a cache bucket information.
But with a bucket name or bucket ID reference, or just without grouping? So no grouping to buckets, right?
No.
Okay, so I'm just making sure that this is what we were aiming to achieve. That's my.
Well,
question.
it maybe not. I'm not clear about your question. So namespace, right? Bucket, caching bucket. It just has one. Not namespace cache bucket. It just has one NooBaa bucket, right? It doesn't have multiple, right? Right. Just has one corresponding caching bucket. NooBaa caching bucket.
Yeah. So okay, I see. So you're saying that per hub bucket we will have a namespace resource, right?
Yeah.
And then right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. And so now can you go back to the list? So what is included already for a namespace resource like this? Probably just the regular write count, read count, etc. Right? So in bytes, and then you're adding the cache read. Okay. So what does that mean? That will mean data not read from this namespace resource actually. Odd, I think you need to mute. Thanks. This counter will count reads from cache without that did not go to hub.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the miss count then?
Miss count. If we read, so basically there's no cached object. All object is out of date. Then we go to hub, so that's considered to be a miss.
Again? Sorry?
So if we don't have the object cached, right? During read operation, the object is out of date. E tag are different. So then we go to hub to retrieve. So that operation considered be a miss. Cache miss.
Okay. So basically, you went through the path of read and write, and you added a counter for these cases where we have specific metric interest, right?
Yeah.
Which were not represented natively in any of the other metrics. But now what I'm just not sure completely is what would read count represent? Only reads that went actually through to the namespace S3?
This one, the read count is essentially same as the read count here. So the reason I put it separately, because I'm not sure it makes sense to reuse this one or just put another one. This is just a number of reads, right? Total number of reads during a collection period. Right?
And so what is the read count? I mean, just the top one.
The top one is same thing. That is, is the number of reads, S3 reads. Okay. Yeah. I could use this one, but sometimes maybe we should have another group just called cache, so that it doesn't confuse. But essentially, these ones serve the. It doesn't technically serve the same purpose because I also have a range rate, right? But they in this one doesn't distinguish between entire object rate and range rate. So this one is an entire object rate. Okay? And I also have a range rate. Okay.
So I think, well, I mean, just to make it probably more digestible, because I think it's great to have as many metrics as possible. Actually, I really don't think this is something we should be, minimalistic with. But we just need to be at least descriptive about what this means, because otherwise it will be very hard to understand. So the question is, how do we want to give description for each of these? One way, which I think we never used, is to add a description key under the object. I think it's possible. I mean, I think that's standard in JSON. In JSON schema you can do that, but I'm not really sure. I mean, we would not use that automatically to do anything, but at least it will be visible here, right? When you come see the type.
Guy, before you continue, you don't see a problem where these IO stats are shared between this use case and the agent use case, where in the agent API we use the same stats. This is kind of API pollution, I think.
So we can separate IO stats to cache stats and then
just send them. And if you do cache stats,
send them for the endpoint, right? So have like either wrap a new endpoint stats object type for that, like inline even, right? Just to have
why not just edit in the same place where it's used in the endpoint right now, but to structure. You have the normal stats, and you have cache stats.
You have cache stats.
It will make more sense.
We're saying if we need to use it, if we need to do it for update and for read and for many cases, we just might want to wrap this and something for endpoint. I mean, I'm not sure if we need.
In any case,
it's just inline.
In any case, the get and the put are for the whole structure, including the resource ID. You have no meaning for the stats without the resource ID in any case. So bringing two fields or one field or joint fields.
Still, we have an object. I mean, I agree. That's okay. The question is if we need to define it for easier, but we don't. It's easy. So I think, Paul, does that help? So we probably just it would be clear, first of all, if these would be in a cache stats one, right?
Add a cache stats. Is that what you're suggesting here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to have them separate. So Had's point was that IOStats is being reused in other reports, and IOStats was supposed to be very generic. And you might. So the other question would be if we need to represent any other IOStats, for example, do we need to, in the cache stats, maybe what we want to say is here, so IOStats represents the everything, like from the S3 perspective completely, but now cache stats will give us the breakdown of what went where, right? Versus between hub and cache. So you could reuse the IOStats in that sense inside.
Okay, I see.
In any case, I just want to add that I think it's okay to save them in the same collection on the database. You don't need to do the separation there, but I think API-wise, it's important.
So what you're saying, like on the database part, I can group them together in the same table, like where is it? Database.
Again, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
Guy made
So for database, then how we're going to store in the database? So we can still store it in a flight, in a flight way. Like this is a database schema. So API.
Sorry, what I meant is you don't need a different collection just for cache stats. I don't see the benefit of a different collection just to cache that.
Okay,
the ordering should be whatever is easiest for you, but
what is the options? I mean, what was the other option? Because I think what you're showing is that it's in the same one, right? Right, Paul. So you're showing in the diff
this is
the schema.
You know, I know.
Added these things to the schema. So these are the things you can currently set, right?
Yeah.
If you want something else, you change it to be what you want to set in the schema.
Yeah.
And is there anything? So is the aggregation assuming everything is flat in this object? Is there any automated aggregation, or is it?
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah.
The aggregation is generic.
Okay. So you have to flatten these keys here anyway.
Okay.
Right. I'm not sure. I'm asking, but Odd, you're sure?
If you could need to spread everything on the same collection, if you don't need the modification to the aggregation path.
I see. Okay.
Because we just run on all the keys and aggregate per key. So
let's try this, Paul. I think if you can use this way to extend the schema, just having maybe a prefix for cache things, and then it's gonna, we still need some mapping between API and database in this case, but you can do it like a complete, like a functional mapping between these keys and the database keys.
Okay. So this one will be collected. It's in the same collection as IO style, so we don't have, it's fine, right? Just.
It seems like that's what the Odd and Jenny are saying, that for the aggregations, it's if what we are interested there is mostly doing aggregations, this is the right we are sending it and storing it, then we just need to get the aggregation to work on that. If you see I think Odd said it right, if you see another way of doing the aggregation, you can do that in a different structure or in a different collection even, but we just think it's usable to you reuse the aggregation for that. The collection is doing aggregation.
The idea is if it's consumed together. If it's consumed together, it leads to the fact that you need to aggregate together. There isn't any problem to run the aggregation on different keys, on a different structure. It will aggregate because the aggregate function itself is very generic. The issue is, what do you want to consume? If you consume everything together, they should be put together. If not, maybe you don't want even to aggregate everything, just a lost cycle, So I think this is the issue here. What do you need to consume and where?
I think eventually they'll be shown on some kind of I don't know, to high level, maybe Prometheus can pull it out, so I can show it on the somewhere in the Grafana to show the mystery.
If you want to send to Prometheus, I don't understand why we are sending it to our backend at all. If the idea is to send to Prometheus, we should send them directly from the endpoint to be scrapped there. I don't see the benefits of saving it in our database. We have the current metrics inside our database, basically because we didn't have Prometheus when we started, and it wasn't an option when we did this kind of code. I don't see benefits in sending this kind of metrics from endpoints to core just to be scraped from core and not from the endpoint.
Right. But I think we discussed it. So is it already inside? I mean, did we have the change to start scraping endpoints?
I am working on it as we speak. It will be.
Okay, that's good.
I'm not sure exactly when because I have other tasks, but it will be ready soon, and it will allow us to scrape directly from endpoint. This is the first PR I'll submit.
So let me ask this: when do you think it will be possible to open a PR from this, so Paul can actually review how he can build on top of it, versus not?
Because we are not working on Fridays, I will say Sunday.
Okay, so next week. That's when you think.
Next week we'll have the first. Yeah, I can separate. Look, I can separate the actual code that exposes and do it faster from the code.
Can you open a PR?
Yeah, I will need to reconfigure my environment, but yes, I will try to open PR by tomorrow, if possible. If not, it will be on Sunday.
So I think what will be useful would be if you can take the pieces just to represent what needs to be done to add more stats and use them and expose them, right? And that's the only thing Paul is interested in. For him, he would just invent statistics in the endpoint code, right? And just say +1 for this or plus 1 megabyte for this.
Yeah. If you Prometheus, right? I know Prometheus have a register API, right? Probably for me, maybe just 2 calls. Like we're going to register these APIs, then I'm going to pack those metrics. So that's the changes will be probably much smaller. But the number of places to be changed probably much smaller than what I have done here.
I'm not sure how to consume these APIs in order to accomplish what you are trying to do. What I can tell you is when we have this API scraping by Prometheus, the whole idea is just to keep an in-memory structure of the call counters, and it will be cycled.
Yeah.
This structure will be exposed. Currently, I didn't have a custom structure for the custom metrics in my PR because my task didn't contain any kind of custom metrics. But it should be very easy to expose new metrics by just using some custom structure in memory.
Yeah, it's like if you're great, we'll see what we can do. From now I probably can just suspend this effort until your PR comes out. We decide what to do.
I think it's for the best, but you can also continue with this effort. I'm not sure.
So from what I've heard from the conversation, if your main goal is to export those things to Prometheus, and there is no logic or some usage with in the NooBaa side, I mean the noobaa-core side, then you don't need the database at all. I mean, the only thing that you need to store in the database are the only things that the noobaa-core uses. The metrics you can just export to Prometheus, and it will be better for you because Prometheus has timestamps and histories and stuff like that, which will allow you to do that easily. So you shouldn't store that in the DB if that's the case.
Okay, so I think to sum up, we need to see. I mean, Oad needs to just open a PR so that we can see how close that comes to help what Paul is trying to achieve. Okay.
So I just want to mitigate expectation. My PR does not contain any kind of structure to expose custom metric. It just exposes the actual endpoints. How do you call it?
That's the node. I mean,
you need to put another effort on top of it. Yeah.
So okay, no, I see. But what I'm saying is that once it's okay. I think we understood, but I think we just want to see the gap between them, right? If Paul looks at this and says, well, and now if I need to do all of that, it will be much harder for me than storing in a database. I prefer to submit this, and once we have custom metrics in the endpoint, we can migrate.
We can sync on it on the next community meeting.
Meanwhile, you can take a look. I mean, if you're interested, you can take a look how we export the Prometheus metrics from the stats aggregator. I assume that it will be quite similar to that.
Genia, it's changed a little bit with my changes. You can do the same, but it's a little bit different right now. So,
but the main story is it should be quite similar to that, because we use the same module to export the Prometheus metrics. We just configure it differently as a mod, right?
there was one layer scraped out, but yeah, it's basically the same. There isn't many conceptual changes.
The stats aggregator, you can take a look in the stats aggregator, the prom metrics or prom something module, and it will be basically the same logic.
Okay. Okay, so let's wrap up. So I think we'll keep on thinking on that. And thanks everyone for the comments. And we'll, I think, by the way, next Monday, is that a holiday?
Yeah, it'll be a holiday in US.
Right, so I think I'll try to reschedule, but I'm not sure if I have another time before Wednesday. So maybe we'll sync next time on Wednesday.
Yeah, and the guy in the meantime, does that make sense? I start work on that the story you opened for the or Sanjeev opened for the inline caching inline bytes, so I can just okay. So
yeah, did you see the update on the issue?
I haven't read updates, but if I guess I will read it. If I have questions, I'll ping you.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, everyone. Talk soon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.